not want that on there. Well, I guess I'll find that out. All right. Welcome to Eight Questions with. I'm your host, Patrick. Sorry about that. We're going to be seeing. I was trying to poke around a little bit for the show, see if I can get this banner thing working for me. That got left up, so did not mean for that to go up. Let's see if I can actually take that down. Hi, Mike. Hi, Michael. How are you, sir? Hopefully, you had a great Christmas. Hope everybody had a great Christmas, as a matter of fact. And racing on to the new year. This is the last week of 2021, and we are heading into the last week, the last three shows of the week. And for tonight, we are headed down to Argentina uh, to interview our tonight's guest, film composer Mariano Saulino. He is the first film composer I have interviewed. I have never interviewed a film composer before, so I'm very excited about that. And I did not know that he was based in Argentina. He is, and I'm excited about that because I just barely scraped, and I do mean like like a couple of movies here and there, but I watched some Argentinian films, and they're pretty good. In fact, one of their movies was on my top 20 a few years back. A movie that was on art exploitation called Luciferina, which was excellent. Um, um, and I really enjoyed that quite a bit, actually. Um, but tonight we'll be talking about the process. I mean, film composing is, as you all know, make a score of a film. A good film score can make or break a movie. I mean, if you got a good score, it can take even the worst movie and make it watchable. Or sometimes, if it's the wrong music, it can really hurt a film. You're sitting there, you're watching a movie, and then the music's coming on there, and it's like it doesn't really seem to fit the action or the dialogue or the location, and it can actually really throw you off of a movie. You can sit there and go like, and you get distracted, and you're going like, what's this music here? Why are they playing happy music when all our heroes are stuck in a cave, or or they're playing a dirge during during the wedding scene. So we'll talk to Mariano about the process of composing a film. Looking forward to this very much. Tomorrow night we have actress Sonia Richards will be here. She'll be here. And then on Thursday we'll have my friend Natalie Friedis will be here. And that will be the end of the year. That'll be it. Um, wow, it's going to be interesting. In January, I will be taking some time off. We'll be only be doing the show. That's the only time I'm going to be online. I mean on social media is doing the three shows a week. And we do have a really good January planned up. And I can't wait to bring it. Can't wait for the new year to get here for you guys to see what we got cooking. Um, I'm going to see a bunch of new guests, a couple of old friends. We're going to do a couple of more roundtables. We did a roundtable during Christmas week. We talked about our favorite our monster films, and that did pretty well for us. We were pretty happy with it. So we're going to try to do something like that again in February or March. Uh, January we'll see a few more of our community. I went to the community a little bit in January to bring a few people up to talk to. Um, it seems like you guys really like listening to our own peers. So I thought I'd bring up a few more. So don't worry, we still got some names. We still got some names we're talking to. Uh, we still bringing up Sherry Davis, and our good friend Mike Ferguson will be back. We'll be talking to actress Eileen Huntington from Shark Exorcist, one of our favorite cult films. Um, we also will be talking to Jennifer Block Bien. She'll be here on the 11th. And yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. Um, our first interview, first video interview with our friend Stephen Foster will be here. We had to reschedule him due to some family issues, but he'll be back at the end of the month. And yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. Got a podcaster coming up, all sorts of things. The Cheetah and I, we just learned this week that we will be working with Bayview Entertainment. We will be doing some film interviews for them, and interviews, as a matter of fact. Um, they have offered to work with us, and we said, why not? We always enjoy working with film companies as much as we can. Um, Bayview is to us, it's an up and comer. It's new. We don't know too much about them, but we did take a look at their catalog, and it's pretty strong. I know that there's a couple of community members that have been reviewing their films, so it'll be new to us. And looks like the first movie we'll be talking about is a film based in Norway called Entombed, and that should be coming soon. Oh, thank you, Katie. Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while since I've worked with a film company, but that's fine. I enjoy it very much so. Um, it's a lot of fun, and of course, you get cool DVD, and they're actually sending me physical media. That's what I'm really excited about. They're sending me DVDs to review. No more, no streamers. So I'm really happy about that. Let me tell you. Uh, I wanted to bring attention real quick. Hi, Larry D. I wanted to bring really something. I want to bring our friend Karen from Ocean Chick Films. She did her first interview show, and she interviewed Brett Kelly. Very impressive with that. Um, I'm glad someone in the community reached out to talk to him. I really am. I know that if I asked him, I know that I would get two fingers in my face. And you know which two fingers I'm talking about. Um, I thought it was a really fun interview. Very insightful, actually. Um, Seems like a really nice guy. So who knows? Maybe I'll work my courage up and ask him. But Karen from Ocean Chicks Films did it. The final girls of horror, making their impact in the community. That's a great thing to see. It was a really good interview. I'm going to be dropping it into the Facebook group, which I did. Also believe it or not, I'm going to also be connecting it here in the description box for this interview too. Um, so you guys can go check that out. In fact, Katie, if you want to go drop Karen's link down, that'll be great. So our guest will be here momentarily. Hi, John. How are you, sir? So glad you guys are all here for the last week of the year. And thank you again for last Sunday, man. The for the midnight hour, man. You guys really rolled out for our anniversary show, and we saw the return of Hobbs, our leader. It came out, and you guys all supported it. Thank you so much. That was an amazing show. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, I agree, Katie. I think she did a great job. I think she did a great job. Good, John. Good, good. I thought that was a perfect first interview for her. I thought that was a really good first interview for her. So, and it really helped. It really helped that she liked the movie too. But we'll be talking to Mariano. Mariano has. I'm looking at his movie database page, and holy crow, has he been busy? Um, and the thing about it is, though, is that film composing is not that easy. I mean, it's one of the most difficult parts of making music is film composing because because basically the hardest thing, and I'm not sure about this. We'll have to ask Mariano. But the really hard part about that is to create your own original piece. And if you really think about that and think about how many movies there have been made, and that's not even talking about the television shows. How do you make a piece of music that's completely original without nobody else knowing about it? I mean, because you've been exposed to thousands of pieces of work anyway. Every movie you watched, every composer um, it's you think that somewhere down the line you're gonna, you could, if I mention you guys this, what's your favorite movie score? You guys could pop off a few. You can sit there and say, oh yeah, I like this. I really like the score to Tombstone, or the theme from Star Wars, the theme from Superman. It follows. So you can see it follows. Uh, 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 a dark song, just haunting pieces of music, driving pieces of music. It really does elevate the movie going experience. When you have a really kick-ass score, it can really drive the movie. Oh, welcome, Dante. Welcome. This will be fun. Yes, by all the means, please share us out. Those who can, if those who with the community tabs, you guys would like to share us out, that would be most amazing. We would really appreciate that. Um, I'm once again stuck in YouTube hell as far as getting out of my 480s. If I can get out of the 480s, I might be able to get to that 500 mark, but it seems like I get to 486 and get knocked down again. So, hi, Sylvina. Oh, Sylvina. Yes, yes. Mariano will be here. He'll be here in about 2 minutes. And then we'll get this party started. Next week's show schedule. I'll tell you that real quick while we wait for Mariano. So the first week of the new year, 2022, starts on January 4th, and we'll see the return of our good friend Mike Ferguson. He's got a new movie out called Amityville Uprising, which was directed by Thomas Churchill. Thomas is still working on his 6-piece epic adventure about Amityville, and he has done a vampire movie. He's done a werewolf movie, and now he's doing a zombie movie. So it looks like he's going to be his this. It seems to me his plan for the 6 pieces are to go on to every single major genre and do a movie based on that. So Mike will be Mike is one of the stars of this movie. It'll be out on the 11th of January, but we'll be talking to him on the 4th of January before it comes out. On next Wednesday, a week from tomorrow, our fellow community member, our friend Anthony, will be here from Fever Dreamland Theater. Anthony, some of you might know, he is from the. Hi, Mary. How are you? Thank you guys all for sharing us out. I appreciate that. Hopefully, you're feeling good, Mary. Hopefully, you're feeling good. As you know, Anthony does he does great reviews on his channel. He's part of the Cinema Squad. Really excited to have him on. We're going to be talking anthologies. We're going to be talking about all sorts of fun things next a week from Wednesday. And then on the 6th of January, we have our own shark expert coming on in. The lovely Elaine Huntington will be here. She is a producer and actress, and she worked on the cult favorite Shark Exorcists, among many other projects. So we will be talking to Elaine Huntington, and we'll talk about, besides that, besides sharks, we'll be talking about New Orleans. New Orleans seems to be a really happening place for filming, so even more so than usual. So we'll talk to her about that, talk to her about the floods. And our guest is here. So let's put our hands together and welcome in Mariano. Yay. There he is.
Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yep, yep, we are live.
Here we are finally. How are you doing, Patrick?
Yeah, yeah. How are you?
Oh, good. Good. Very
Sorry
good.
about the little thing in front of us. I'm trying to figure out how to use StreamYard a little bit better than have been. So I was poking around on it before. I didn't think it would happen in this chat in this on our stream here, but I'm gonna be trying to work and see if I can make a banner to go across the bottom of the screen.
No worries.
Technology.
I'm a newbie too, so we are both learning tonight.
Yeah, I'm very new. I've been doing the interview for a while, but I want to make it a little bit more, a little bit more, more interesting to look at. I guess I'm gonna have to experiment on that. Wow, nice meeting you. I'm very excited on two fronts. One, because I've never interviewed a film composer before, and I am a huge composing fan. I'm a huge film composer fan. Uh,
Okay.
music, music and film is critical to me. It's part of the experience. If I mean, you want to see good
Absolutely.
acting. I mean, you want to see
Yeah.
good acting. You want to see, you want to see action. You want to see good drama. But the soul of the movie, what makes the movie really work, is the music in the movie itself.
Yeah, I think it's a kind of guide, a subliminal guide to the audience, because we composers, we are supposed to support the story. That's our main goal. So um, I don't believe the music should be, like starring the movie. I don't believe in that. I think we are writing music to serve the story. And if we can do that, man, you got it. That's the main goal.
Um, there is something to be said though about like the first three notes of a movie will come out. Like the first three notes of Jaws or the first three notes of The Exorcist.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, as
definitely.
soon as you hear
Yeah,
that, I mean, you instantly are right there in that movie. Um, to me, like the first three notes of a Dark Song or the first three
yeah,
notes, it just as soon as you hear that, you know what to expect. Um,
absolutely.
but you're right; it doesn't have to overpower it. It doesn't have to come out there and say, "Look at
Yeah,
me because I'm the most important part."
yeah. It's tricky because lately most of the directors they want us to be just supporting, not so upfront with a melody or with a theme. Um, I don't like that so much, but you
Hmm.
know, uh, that's what's going on now. That kind of background driven scores, but I really, really love a good melody, because that's the main spirit of music, melody.
Agreed. Agreed.
Yeah,
To me, you're right, Larry. Music takes you straight into the movie, and to me, when you come out in the beginning of a film, when you come out the beginning of the film, and you first hear your score coming through, not only is
yeah,
it setting you into the movie, but it allows the audience time to settle in and to see see the movie, see who's in it. There's a little bit of time for for the opening credits to come through, and you're getting comfortable, you're getting anticipated. I personally don't like a movie where I'm expected to hit the ground running. Like the movie comes on and this big crash boom thing, and you see a car
yeah, yeah, yeah,
rolling across the screen. It's like it's just so fast. It's just like
yeah,
it's okay to breathe for a minute or two.
yeah, yeah, yeah. The Fast and Furious stuff.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. I
yeah.
mean,
But
it
on
has
the
its
other
place.
hand, yeah. But on the other hand, you have, for example, the Marvel movies, which I really like that kind of score. Maybe it's way too epic, but it's the melody and the spirit. It's really driven the story, and that's maybe. maybe too it's something too humongous as an example, but because that those kind of big melodies, big motifs, but it's maybe our contemporary John Williams stuff, kind of say. um, I don't know. It's something very, very interesting to debate because most directors, as I told you, they want us composers to help to tell the story. And the music is something that, in a way, makes you think less. It sounds, it doesn't sound so good, but it's something like that because you don't have to think so much about what's going on. You just feel it because the
Right.
music is, showing you the way without thinking so much. So, uh, you know, this is sadness, for example. Can you hear this?
Yeah.
Sorry. You have no doubt. It's
Right.
you are introspective. You are maybe a bit sad. Maybe also you don't have a clue of what's going on. That's just a chord, minor chord. It's telling you everything.
Yeah, it does, isn't it?
Yeah,
You're right. I mean, it could set you right into the story right away. Um, and
absolutely,
you're right. And I mean,
absolutely.
and there's nothing wrong to me. It's like, there's nothing wrong with doing that. I mean, directors that want to come out and instantly start blazing away, it's like, especially it seems like more now because a lot of the feature films seem to be getting a little bit longer and longer. So it's not like
Yeah,
directors have, like, for especially the big budget movies. It's not like they have 90 minutes to get their point across. A lot of them now are well over 2 hours or more, so they
yeah,
have the time to tell their story properly. And there's nothing wrong with putting a good score in place to help drive that movie in. It's
yeah,
perfectly fine. We actually prefer it that way.
yeah.
It's funny.
It's like solving a puzzle. Writing score is like solving a puzzle because uh, you have um, to go underneath with what you are writing, and you must feel the emotion just with a few notes. um, it's kind of very, very minimalistic at the same time, to my point of view, because sometimes you don't have so much time to tell something with music. So I learned that doing commercials, for example, because you have maybe 20 seconds to tell the story, 30 seconds. And you have to, you have your intro, your building, your climax, just maybe in 30 seconds. So in a feature film, you have way more time to do it. So that's great.
Um, Before we come back to that, before we get into the teeth of that, because there's so many
Yeah.
questions. But I want to go back. I want to, we we sort of jumped into this and started running right away without putting our own theme music into place. And that is, we
Oh,
got
no
to
problem.
find out a little bit about your own background. Uh,
That's not so important. I love chatting, you know.
no, no, it's sort of funny. It's like here we are, sure our chat's in there going like, holy shit, they're already running. And it's like, well, don't worry, we're gonna build it up. We're gonna build it up here. Uh, uh,
Okay.
let's talk about your early career.
Yeah.
Your when you're during your childhood. Um, where were you born and raised at?
Uh, I was born and raised in Buenos Aires, Argentina, and I have also relatives in the US. So I'm a kind of mixture of both cultures. I have relatives in New Mexico, in San Luis, Missouri, and New York. So uh, I grew up, with a bit of my origins and all this kind of international view too.
Yeah, that was one thing I mentioned. I was going to mention to the chat was, not only are you my first film composer, but you're also, this is the first time I've ever interviewed anybody from Argentina, and so it's really cool because that's one thing I've discovered doing this interview series is like I've only done like 70 of these, and I've already talked to people from like 15 to 16 countries.
Wow.
So yeah, I really like that. I really like seeing how the world looks at things through a different pair of eyes, you know. And so I was really excited when you mentioned that you were based in Argentina. I was like, that is so cool. Um, I just got a brief glimpse. I've only had a brief exposure to Argentinian film. As far as that goes, like, there's unfortunately there's no way that TV shows or films make their way up here to the States. We don't see a lot of that up here. I wish we did, but we don't. Um, so so you grew up in Buenos Aires. Uh,
Yeah.
what what was it like growing up in Buenos Aires?
Uh, Buenos Aires, it's a city maybe in Latin America, which is the most European city because most of us, we came from Europe. I'm Italian. I'm Argentinian and Italian citizen too. My grandfather came from Italy, so we have a lot of Spain, Italy, and also Israel here. There's a lot of immigrants from Russia, from Spain and Italy, mainly. So it's really a mixture of many cultures, plus our own culture from here. Um, from native from Argentina, what we call the folklore, which is kind of traditional music in Argentina. And also you got the tango, which is a mixture of African rhythm plus European, harmony and melodies. So this in the maybe the 1950s was really very um, a country with a lot of future. It was there were many expectations on Argentina at that time. We were providing food to all the world. It was very a moment where the country was really growing a lot, and we have people from all over the world here making new business and growing. And in the 60s, where I was born, all that stuff was really um, going on. And you have everything. You have, for example, parties where bands playing music from Italy, from Spain, and tango at the same time. Everybody dancing that in public parties. So I grew up with that, plus all the American and English music. So I consider myself a mixture, a blend of all that culture. Also, I really love the folklore, Argentinian folklore, which is something that is a mixture of, how can I explain this to you? Is native rhythms and some melodies from the Andes, which is the mountains here, like the ones you have in California. That kind of
Yeah, the Andes, yeah.
geography, yeah, and it's really interesting. A musician from here, from Argentina, Gustavo Santaolalla, who won 2 Oscars for The Secret in Their Eyes and Brokeback Mountain. He's really great example of uh, film composer that mixes native rhythms plus these harmonies from Europe, and he really gets a really really nice blend. He's very talented.
So you were exposed quite early to this. I mean, growing up there, it must have been a during the 60s. I mean, it must have been a really exciting time. Now,
Yeah,
were your parents into were both your parents also Italian, or
yeah, yeah,
okay, okay.
both. Yeah,
I know after the
yeah,
war, a lot of folks, a lot of you had to leave some of the countries because they were so devastated by the war. So I can
absolutely.
understand. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
Argentina was a kind of paradise here because many immigrants came here looking for a future, and I think they really found it, and they really set all the base here in Argentina for what we have now. They were people that they really sacrificed themselves for a better future. Very inspiring to many generations here. And I grew up with all those traditions. Now I feel like a citizen of the world, because I work in the US, also in Europe. I have family in Europe too. So you really feel this global, feeling about doing projects here and there and everywhere.
but
But
before you got to the projects, I mean, before you started doing that, I mean, what was it like as a youngster when you grew up? I mean, were your
yeah,
parents
uh,
musicians? Were they
no,
musicians
no,
as well?
no. I'm the first one. There's a few artists in the family though, but I'm the first one. My sons are also artists. I have three sons, and but it was not my intention. They really they choose that. So, um, but yeah, I'm the very first one in my family doing this, and it was like everything in life, just by accident. I really love music. I listen to a lot of music, and one day, I went to the cinema to see Star Wars, and it was like,
I was going to ask you,
yeah,
what did you watch? What kind of cinema and
yeah.
TV were you exposed to when
My
you were?
Absolutely. My big hits were, in the 70s, John Williams music and Stevie Wonder's music. That was my first steps on, listening to music in a new kind of feeling, which was really get absolutely into it, captivated in it, um, and was like first sight love, something like that. And I just wanted to, play the piano, learn a few themes, and I went to have a few lessons. But my teacher was a jazz piano player, so I was tough on jazz. I didn't know, just how to play a chord, and he taught me on jazz. So jazz was my first step into music, into studying music. And at that time, I have a few friends who were studying also film directing and producing here in Argentina, and I was kind of, helping hand to them, uh,
Now, how old were you
writing.
when how old were you when you first? I mean, when you started
Six.
first composing, started composing your own pieces.
Yeah, yeah. I think 17, 18 years old, something like that. Film music, it's something I really learned as a self-taught. I didn't study at a university or school about film music. It was just like an accident. I, this friend of mine, her girlfriend was studying film, and he said, "Can you help me on this because she needs music for her thesis, who was her last step in her career. And I said, why not? Okay, let's do it. And I just go into the studio and improvise there, watching the video, and I was like fish in the water. And I said, this is great. I want
So you
more.
were you were a you fell into it naturally, but isn't that always the best way? Isn't that always the way with great artists? Is like, I mean, I've heard that before, Mariano, where people
Yeah,
just they've fallen into it. There's no formal training. There's no one guiding them.
absolutely,
They were able to sit
absolutely,
down and start playing. That's amazing.
absolutely.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah. It's crazy because, uh, in fact, I think I always loved film music, but I didn't have, the courage to say, okay, let's study this or let's write music for films. I didn't know I could do it. And at that time, I have a few skills because jazz music give you a lot of harmony skills, and it's very, very complex stuff. So you have a lot of tools, to compose, to write, to improvise. So it was very natural to me to go to the studio, just improvise, watching the video and adding a few instruments like overdubs. I never have overdub in my life, but the technician, the sound engineer at the studio say, would you like to record another track? I say, why not? Okay, let's put this and that. And it was really, really awesome. So
Now,
I kept on helping other friends on the same thing.
now overdubbing, is that the layering of different music? Like you put one score down and then you put another piece on top of that. Is that overdubbing
Yeah,
or
yeah. As you are listening to the other track, you are listening to the previous track we recorded, and you recorded a new one on top while you still listening to the previous track. So you can overdub and keep
keep it on?
adding layers one top of the other. For example, maybe I record something with the percussion and later on bass and strings, and you keep on building all the orchestration that way. But it was really, really something very new to me because I have never done something like that. So, but it was very natural at the same time. It's like all was in my head, and everything was flowing really, really, really nicely. And I said, okay, let's dig on this a bit more. And uh, I started doing a few gigs for commercials, which was really my first school learning how to write to picture, because maybe you have, as I told you before, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, and you
Now,
have to tell the story.
now
So
when you
that
went in
was,
when you went in for when you went in for pieces like that, and now when you before you started doing commercials, did you how many movies had you? How many what kind of movies had you already done? I mean, if I was going to hire you, if I
maybe,
was going to hire
yeah.
you, what would you? Because to me, it's like like you mentioned, you had no formal training, and so you had. I mean, how did they hire you? Did they hire you based on your previous work? I mean,
No, it was crazy because I put together a demo, which is a demo,
yeah, yeah,
a few tracks showing what you can do, writing music, producing music, kind of showcase of your work. And I didn't have even a singer to sing over, the music I have written at that time. So I just uh, produced a few covers from musicians I like Stevie Wonder, James Taylor, Steely Dan, a few ones I really love, and I just play a melody over it, over all the orchestration I have recorded, and that was my demo. Maybe 7, 8, tracks like that.
sure.
And I take this demo to JW Thompson, an agency from England here in Argentina, and they were amazed because they told me you didn't even have a singer, and we hear all as a whole. It was really amazing to them. So they hired me to do a few works just on spec to see how I could respond to them. And you
Now,
know,
how old are you?
again, again, everything flowed, and I kept on working on that.
How old are you when you did your first commercial?
25, I think, something like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
25. Yeah. And so also at that time, I was doing a few gigs playing jazz fusion uh, with many colleagues at that time. So I was really trained on many things. But my main problem was that uh, I haven't uh, get into a lot of music styles because jazz was everything to me. So when I write a music for a commercial, I used to use those resources, and they said, "Here we don't want those melancholy chords." They used to tell me, and I have to rebuild all my stuff. Learning pop songs, learning Latin rhythms, learning funky music or whatever, disco music, electronic music, all kind of stuff. Because when you do commercials every day, could be a different style, and that was also something like felt like a glove to me because I really get bored if I play the same style every day. So I really love to get from one style to the other, and that way I don't know, I end up producing hundreds of commercials during maybe 10 to 15 years doing that. And one day I started uh, sending a few demos to other kind of company like Fox here in Argentina, Fox Latin American channels, and I started writing music for their logos, their promo on air promos, and
Yeah.
that was my first step, signing with a big international company.
Just gonna go to the chat real quick. And it says here, Sylvania. I can't pronounce the last name. I don't want to kill it. Topical.
Zlatopolsky, she's my
Yes.
wife.
Oh, okay. That's awesome. She mentioned that you're a self-made artist. I love that because I love the DIY. I do. I think it's amazing. I'm loving the story. I think it's great. Um, and let's see, our friend Kubrick lover 1972 saying hello to you as well. Uh, yeah, I love that. That's a. But let me ask you, just slightly off topic now. Now you grew up and you played jazz and you love jazz and whatnot.
Mhm.
Now you're a little older, a little wiser. Is jazz still? What do you feel about jazz now? Is it the same? Is it the same love you had for it as a youngster, or
Yeah,
do you ever?
maybe you know what? Maybe more because now I really feel like I'm a film composer. So when I revisit jazz, I really enjoy like something which is part of many other parts of my music being. Okay, so in the past I was just studying jazz to do all the other kids were doing, and now I really love jazz as a kind of place that I go to enjoy. I'm playing music for myself, and it's something that when you develop your career, many things go to the right place, because um, when you first study music, you just want to speak like your parents, so to say. I was studying, all my heroes, which were Lyle Mays, Chick Corea, Herbie Hancock, you name it. A lot of really talented pianists and fusion artists. And when I started writing music for film, just was I need to put it in another place in order to get into my own craft, to develop my own voice. And now I use element from the jazz language to my scoring style, and
Uh,
elements from tango and elements, for other music, country music too. I'm a blend of a lot of things today. So
sure,
uh,
sure.
I have my
I think
heart on jazz too.
you have to be in order to become a film composer or doing commercials. There's just no way you could just be one discipline. You can't do it and make it. You
Yeah,
just
absolutely. But
um
you learn a lot doing that, and you open your head a lot, because the jazzer with what I was playing with, they were so narrow, so square, like a religion, and I hate that. I really like to twist things, to change things, because we're here, to do something different that the one who came before. We are not here to copy and to stay,
right.
to put on another one shoulders and say, okay, here I am playing Korea stuff. That's no.
I got a question for you from Kubrick Lover 1972, and this is a good question. This is timely. He mentions Mariano. What kind of instruments do you play? He has a Effie phone, Les Paul, a Squire Strat, and a MIDI keyboard. So that's a good question to have because I can't imagine what your studio looks like. Your studio must be
Yeah,
just have everything in it.
yeah. I'm a multi instrumentalist in a
Yeah.
way, but my main instrument it's the piano. But I also play a bit of guitar, a bit of bass, percussion. But at some point, you have to focus just in one instrument to get really deep into it. And I have other instruments just as a kind of backup to mock up a few things. But when I need an instrument which is not the piano, I used to hire other musicians. And also, for example, my older son Dante plays all the guitars in my scores, so I have other musicians that collaborate in my scores.
Give me 1 second here. uh, yeah, good, good old YouTube. Okay. We actually have another quick question. I'm gonna actually feed some of these questions to you because I think this is just gonna be sort of like a jazz. This is gonna be like a jazz interview. It's gonna be free flowing, and it's gonna be just we'll see where it takes us.
Okay.
We have our friend. Okay, here we go. Wow. Okay. Now everybody's asking you, what's your favorite composers? Yeah. Well, well, I mean, as far as film composers. Now we know musician wise, Stevie Wonder was a huge influence to you. Um,
Mhm.
but as far as film composers themselves, um, you were you inspired by anyone, or was it better for you not to be inspired by anyone? That way you could
Yeah,
have your own. That way you can have your
yeah,
own.
absolutely. It's a good question. You know, um, we all learn from what others have done in the past, had done in the past. But uh, you have to develop your own voice. But I have my heart, with many film composers like James Horner, Thomas Newman, uh, John Williams, of course. Which other one can I tell you? Uh, James Newton Howard, he's really great. Um, also,
I have one question for you, Mariano.
yeah,
I have one
yeah.
question for you. You mentioned someone in there that it actually really be he actually used to be my very favorite composer. You know, and he used to be my favorite. It's like remember he mentioned composers. He used to be my favorite
Who?
until
Who,
I
sir?
started watching. This composer used to be my favorite composer, but I started noticing a really uncomfortable thing in his scores. He plagiarized himself to death. He copied himself over and over and over.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
was one of the questions I was going to ask you. You know who I'm talking about, don't you?
yeah. There's a few composers that really work for the film, and other composers, it's like they make their own album.
Yeah.
So I try to do a bit of both, because you have to have your own voice, but you have to serve the story and serve the film. But also it's tricky because, for example, I was listening to a TED talk. You know the TED
Yeah.
talks
Yes.
uh, by James Horner, and he said he couldn't use, by the contract he signed, he couldn't use stuff from other movies, but we are talking just about language, orchestrations, nothing similar to other movies he has done.
But he
And
was the worst at that. You knew
yeah,
who I was
yeah, and
talking about. You knew I was talking about James Horner. I like that because he just I loved his early stuff, but he just started repeating himself. I
yeah,
was just like
because
amazed by that.
but I think they build their trademark, and they tried to show that because they want to their music to be recognized. It's a tricky thing because, as I told you, you have to serve the story and you have to serve the film, but at some point you want to express yourself. And for example, it happened to me a few months ago. I write a music for a western, and afterwards I write the music for another western, and the director of the previous one told me, "Hey, Mariano, is that your music? Because it's like the music you wrote to for my film." And I said, "It's just me, sorry," because that's my sound. That's my sound. It's not on purpose, but
No,
that's
that's got to be. See, to me, that's why. To me, it's like film composing. That's got to be the hardest music to create. It's got to be the hardest because there's so many out there. I mean, you can't. How do you even keep it? How do you even keep it separated? Um, let me catch up here in the chat here. Oh, I got a bot here. Hold on. Let me. We've been getting bots lately. Hold on. Okay. Let me go back up real quick. John Barry had sort of repeated himself in some of his film scores. Kubrick also mentions that he agrees Horner repeated himself. Let's see.
that's so cruel. That's so cruel because James Horner, he was such a genius.
I
I would
agree.
like to sound, one
I
percent of his music in my music, but but the audience, they are so sincere, you know.
I,
But
I agree. I'm
there's
not. Believe me,
there's a
Mario. I
lot
am
of
not harsh.
work.
I still love James Horner's music. I do.
Yeah,
And I'm not disrespected in any means. I hope I
but
we're not. We all
yeah,
love
but
him.
absolutely. But I understand also what the audience is saying because they don't want the music to repeat over and over again or the style. But for that composer was so hard to find his own voice, So
Got a
you have
couple people.
to understand both sides. Yeah,
Yeah. It is a very crowded field. I mean, it's crowded. It's crowded. I mean, as far as American composers go, it's crowded here, but it's top heavy. It's just like a few.
yeah,
There's a. I mean, down in Argentina, I think it's pretty safe to say, just based on where we're at
yeah,
now,
yeah.
and talking to
This
you,
is a
you are
yeah.
like.
This is
What do you think?
uh,
Do you think it's safe to say that you're like the John Williams of Argentina film composing? I mean, you are the top dog in
no,
Argentina.
no, no, no. I'm not. I'm
Really?
not. I am a very, very recognized composer here, but not at all. I do a lot of TV work here for one of the main TV channels, along a big team because also my sons work at my studio and we collaborate with each other. Um, but yeah, I have done a few things here, but it's
A few.
it's not so comfortable to me to talk about
So,
myself about
a
that. But
few.
yeah, yeah, I have
I
done.
saw you. I saw
I
your
go with.
database page.
Okay, I'm going to be very, very brief. I have done over 60 TV shows here in Argentina,
Oh, yeah.
including news TV shows and stuff. many TV series, and I have done over 60 films in the US. So I'm
You're
a
being
good
so modest.
experience.
You're being
Yeah,
so modest. You're being so modest. I looked at your
it's work.
I looked at your
I
work on the database page. Your line of credits are so flippin' incredible. I just am blown away by what I saw. I mean,
oh,
you
thank
have
you.
made you have dozens of wins. Your music has won dozens of awards. Just amazing talent. I mean, you you can't sell yourself short. Not here. We're not letting you sell yourself short. I think you're freaking amazing.
Oh,
I
thank you.
no. Let me catch up with the chat real quick. Chat's popping tonight. I really love this. Um, let's see. They're talking about the different scores, for different films. Mentioning Howard Shore, who did Lord of the Rings. Don
Yeah,
Barry.
Howard Shore, absolutely, absolutely, another
Yeah,
hero.
he was really strong. Um, let's see. Let's see. Okay. They're still talking about James Horner repeating himself. That happens. That happened. We're not going to comment on that. Your wife is mentioning the show on Netflix. Um,
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Thank you, Silvina.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
because she's my studio manager. She's into everything.
no,
So
that you know
yeah,
what?
yeah,
You're only as strong as your wife is. That's the rule of the world.
absolutely,
A man is
absolutely,
only as strong as his wife. Without that, a man is just sort of like swimming out there hoping for a life raft.
for
Uh,
sure,
uh,
for sure.
yeah,
I couldn't, I couldn't do all this without her. I always tell her this.
I love that. I mean, I think a husband and wife team, they're unbreakable. They really are.
Absolutely,
Uh,
yeah,
so here you are. You're 25 years old. You walk inside there, and they're giving you your first crack at commercials, and you got
yeah,
20 seconds to make a story to connect the story. That has
yeah.
got to be so much pressure. But who's the pressure on more? Is it the pressure on the filmmaker, or is the pressure on you? Because
Uh, I don't think it as a pressure. It's a puzzle. You have to take out all your shit. Because we musicians, we have, I have this chord which is a great chord. I have this scale which is a great scale. Okay, throw that all away and begin making music, because music, it's not about that. You have to, to take all the shit away, and just focus, on having a good melody, and tell the story. So those 20 seconds, yeah, they were a challenge to me, but they also helped me to learn a lot, really a lot, because all the all this kind of selfish thing about music, about how much do you know, how much you can play. It's nothing when it comes to writing for something else, because in music, for film, every chord is a feeling. You know, you have to reflect a feeling with everything you are writing. So, to tell you the truth, it was like it kind of organized me as a composer to have a certain amount of time to develop an idea. You
now,
have to be synthetic. You have to be really, really bold with what you're writing.
um, well, I guess, when you're working on a project, let's see here real quick. Yep, okay, they're still talking among themselves. Great. Thank you guys for keeping the chat hot. This is awesome. Uh, Keep it coming. If you have questions, I'll get to the questions. But I love the fact you guys are talking among yourselves. That's awesome. I put Mariano's movie database page up there. There's a link up there. So if you want to see what I was talking about earlier about him being a master, you're more than free to take a look at that. Um, but the thing here's the thing I was going to ask you is, before you're in your studio, you're making your music, you're your own boss. You're sitting there, you can create your
Yeah,
own music, you can
yeah,
overdub it, you can try
yeah.
different you can. But now when you start working for commercial, or a film project, now you're no longer working just by yourself. Now you got to work with not only a director, but now you have to work with an editor. So now that makes it just that much more interesting because you're no longer 100% your own boss. Now you got
Absolutely.
to work with the team.
Teamwork. That's the second thing I learned. When you work producing music for film, for a commercial, you are just a small part of a very, very large chain. So if you miss a deadline, you are making everybody's work go down the drain. So
Mm,
you have to keep your agenda. There's a phrase that Danny Elfman, that's another hero to me. Danny Elfman, I really love his
okay, yeah,
music. He said, um, the schedule, you must deliver on time. That's the number one command. It's funny also. It's great, that phrase. You have to deliver on time. That's the first thing, you have to really achieve when you work for the industry, because maybe you are writing a great score, but if you don't deliver on time, you are going to have a very, very big problem, because they're waiting for you. The editor is waiting for you, the colorist is waiting for you, and the
yeah,
moment that a composer enters into the production uh, timeline, it's also like Danny Elfman says, it's like, landing with a parachute in the middle of a war. Everyone is, hey, watch out, something like that,
right.
because everybody's rushing. They have to meet the deadline. Maybe they're really behind the schedule. So you have to really, it's like getting in a train, which is a moment. You have to catch and try to come up with things very, very fast. So I would say the craft, building your craft, it's the main thing, because that's the only thing that's going to save you in that kind of situations. That's
It's pretty.
something I really learned
You think it's
working on
it's
TV.
pretty it's pretty important. Like we talk about with as far as filmmaking goes, we mentioned how some directors it's really important that they do short films first, so they can learn their craft. And to
Yeah,
me,
absolutely.
it almost seems like short films are perfect for a film composer, a young film composer just getting into it because
Yeah,
you also are learning that too. To me,
yeah.
I would like to learn how to do a film composer on a short film. I think a commercial would just be like I don't know, that would probably drive me nuts because
Yeah,
I know it's only 30 seconds, but that 30 seconds you're being asked to put everything to, like that music's got
yeah.
to meet, that's so hard. That just
and
drives me crazy.
Yeah,
But
and there's also another challenge, which is the temp track. The temp track is something. It's a short music cue that the director used as a guide, to for the editing. And there's maybe he or she is spent, days editing with that temp track, which is going to throw to the trash once I have my score done. But he's got temp love, because they fall in love with the temp track. So once you enter into writing for a film, they used to say, "Can you get closer to the temp track?" And many times I said, "Okay," and afterward we're going to jail. Okay, that's okay for you, because
because you
we're
played it
going to
right. Yeah,
travel. Yeah, and that's another challenge. You have to compete with the temp track, and you have
right.
to deliver on time, and blah blah blah. So it's something maybe today I'm very used to, because it's a guide. Because
Right.
a film score is something, as many other art disciplines, it's something that could be subliminal for you and for me, because maybe something you like, I will not like it, and vice versa, right? So another challenge is to get in the same page with the director, because maybe I want to write something for a scene, but the director wants another thing. So you have
Mm.
to write maybe two to three alternatives. So we can discuss and have another side of the coin to
Sure.
see another alternative. It sounds stressful, but it's really exciting to
It's gotta
me,
be
and
fun.
it's really
With someone like
fun.
you, it's gotta be
Absolutely
fun.
fun.
I was gonna say.
Absolutely.
We have a quick question for you here from the Dutch film buff, Mr. Saulino. What are your favorite movies and your favorite movie scores of all time?
Oh my gosh,
Well, how about we'll do
that's a
how about
tough
your top?
one.
How about top three?
That's
We'll do your top three
okay.
film
Okay.
scores.
Okay. Top three. Okay. Top three. Um, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, John
Okay,
Williams.
John Williams.
Um, Let me think. Um,
I know he's gonna pick James Horner.
James Horner, Field of Dreams. That would be another one.
I knew it was coming. Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
great score. That's a great score.
and Howard Shore, The Fly.
Oh wow, yeah,
I'm
from
talking about
19.
scores. I'm talking about scores, not
Yeah,
okay, not
wow.
the movie by itself, but the scores.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's a really creepy. That's a really good one.
Yeah, but
Field of Dreams is
there's a
really, yeah.
few really, really interesting things in what he wrote for those for that movie.
Third Encounters of the Close Kind too. What an
Yeah,
amazing film that was. That is an
yeah,
amazing score.
yeah. I love both things. The movie and the score is really great.
Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, your wife is saying, "Kill the temp track."
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
uh, let's see. Maurice Jarre was asked by David Lean to revise part of the score of Doctor Zhivago, I believe, 3 times. Yeah, okay. So you know what? That's a good segue. That's a really good segue to this. So you are working with a director and an editor. And how, I mean, when a director comes back in there and they want you to revise a work, like okay, can we revise a certain set of music, and is that easy to do, or do you have to? Can you instead of going back from scratch and redoing the score, how
Oh,
do you
that's so painful. Yeah, absolutely.
how
That's
do you go
absolutely
inside?
painful.
How do you go inside and just take a because your piece is already down. You already got your composed, and then they want you to go in there and they want you to revise it or change it a little bit. How hard is it to do that?
Very. Very, because it's like everything I write, I really take care of as it were a baby. I really
Right.
write with my heart. It's not like I give you something like, okay, this is the first thing I really think of for a score. I'm going to work hard on it. So when you deliver something, you are absolutely on it, and you are absolutely confident you have something nice to show. So when they say we don't like it, it's a pain in the ass. It's
Yeah.
so hard. It's so hard because you have to start from scratch. But if you have a very good spouting session previously, you are not going to go through that. You know,
Uh, so-
Spouting
uh,
session is the moment when we talk about what music would be suitable for each part, for each scene, and we take notes and we comment and we discuss about that. So I think it's a process. If you have a good step by step process to go to the moment you're going to start writing, you are not going to find yourself so frustrated for that.
looks like Karina Brocio. Does
Oh yeah,
Mario?
Karina.
Okay.
Hola, Karina.
Yes, she said hello. Uh, yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, now I seen, of course, they always have the special features. They always go back there and they showing off the composer with a huge orchestra and whatnot. Doing the working. But do you ever go on set like to catch like it's like
Yeah,
it's an
a few
adventure
times.
movie?
Yeah, Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's useless, it's
Oh,
no.
okay.
Yeah, because everybody is rushing and you are just like an ant, there watching, and you don't get a sense
No
of the film.
inspiration.
Yeah, that's it's as useless as reading a script. When you read a script, you make your own movie in your mind. The only thing that really talks to me is, you know the moment that you have the picture look version, and all the cuts are done, and we are okay that, there's no scene that is going to be modified, so you have the pace of the movie and you can feel how you're going to write to it. uh, the acting is everything to me, because the acting is telling me what I have to write. What's the motion I'm going for.
Um, hopefully this will answer a question for you, Dutch. Our friend Dutch. I gotta remember everybody's first names. Like I really gotta do that. But he's mentioning that there's ever been a part where like the directors liked it, but you didn't. Let's say the director comes up to you and says, I want you to go ahead and maybe let's just change this, and then you come back with it and you go ahead and you replace that piece of music, but now the score itself doesn't really sound really good. It's sort of like it's off. There's something about it that's off. Do you ever talk to the film director? I mean, have they ever sat there and said, well, we're going to go with this piece of music, even though you yourself are telling them it's not really good.
um,
It doesn't really fit the piece. It doesn't really fit the theme or your story.
I have always learned from the input. Input is really great, because uh, we tend to think we know everything. Because we have to be brave to write for the industry. You have to be really ready to change from one side to the other and stuff. So when they change my plan and they say, okay, Mariano, this is not working, we'd like to do this or that, I have always learned from that input. So I really, it's hard when the moment comes that they say, okay, throw all this away and write this other thing. But I have always came up with something better than what I had before. That's the truth. you know Eh, eh, at the end of the day, we are lazy. We're kind of lazy. We don't want to change it because we are lazy. That's the
Do you think?
truth.
Do you,
We
do you really think
composers.
that? Do you think that's really true? That you're not so? I mean, lazy. I think to me, it's like I think when you, I would think
Yeah,
that.
but I'm very critic to myself. I'm very critic to myself
Yeah,
sometimes,
yeah,
because what you said, it's really interesting. There were many times I have something that I said, okay, this is the cue, this is perfect, this is working, this is emotional, this is blah blah blah. The director came with another idea, and I said, I hate him. Okay, but I'm going to do it. And when I do it, I think, hey, he was right. I was
yeah.
lazy.
Okay. I
So
see what you're saying.
if you're willing to learn, you are going to learn every time you write something. You know
Right.
that's that's at the end of the day, that's the very very true
Plus,
thing.
plus, plus it'll help you not repeat yourself.
Yeah, but also you have to be open to
Right.
other one's ideas. You have to be open to that, because you are going to become a richer composer in artistic terms. You have to learn every time, and sometimes maybe you discover something you didn't know. That's my experience. Every time that I get a new input from from a director, I have always learned from that. So that's the way to be humble in this industry, to listen to the other one you have in front of you.
But now your reputation's so strong now in Argentina. I mean, is this still a challenge for you to compose down in Argentina, or do you find it more? Or do you find your challenge in going out and doing like American movies now?
Everything is a challenge to me. I was watching a round table of composers, and Marco Beltrami, it's a film composer, very very talented film composer.
Very good.
I was talking to Hans Zimmer, and they said, "Do you have this feeling when you begin a project and you said, I don't know how to make this work. I don't know how how to do it. It's just a weird feeling you have when you just start writing for a new project. You are there and you say, I don't have to do it. I don't know how to do it. But it's just a feeling, because every time you write something, it's a challenge. And once you have your sound palette, you have your style palette, and you start, riding bicycle, it's like you are like a fish in the water again. But every time I write something, it's a challenge to me. So no matter it's for Argentina, for Los Angeles, for Albuquerque, if it's a very very tiny project, low budget project, or if a really really top project, every time it's me writing something, and I want to be really satisfied with what I write. If I'm really confident, I write with my heart. Everything is going to flow to me.
Um, is there a big difference between working, with an Argentinian director or Argentinian TV production versus, let's say, an American project?
Yeah,
Do you
yeah,
find them?
yeah.
Okay, let's
It's
talk about
different.
that. Yeah, let's
It's
talk about
different.
that.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think Argentinian directors are more like directors from Europe than they are kind of theater guys, theater play. Um, American directors are more skilled on production, and I think they're more organized. Maybe they don't know how to improvise. Argentinian directors are more, like a jazz player. They know how to improvise in the set. Maybe they would like to do another take from another angle that was not, in the schedule. That kind of things, crazy things, craziness, you know. But sometimes great things happen with that, but also it's a bit stressful. I like more the American way to make a movie, because I also very organized. I'd like to improvise at my studio, but I have, I really love to have a schedule and have my time to write for each cue, because writing a film score is not something you can do it overnight. You really need a lot of time to develop a whole score. So it's something that can take weeks or months.
I got a question here. Throw you away. Uh, would you say if it's not a challenge for you, um, you would not write a great score? I mean, it's always good to be challenged, right? I mean, you always
Yeah,
want to be
it's
challenged.
always,
I mean,
it's
it's sort
always
of
absolutely. I
it's
agree.
dangerous
I mostly
creatively.
agree.
You think
Really,
it's
really. Yeah,
dangerously creatively not to be challenged, right? I mean, you don't want to be ever be like, the worst thing I would think that would be worst thing for a composer is
I, you
someone
know, I,
writing a review and saying that you're
I,
complacent.
absolutely. I do have a story about that. In 2016, I was writing for a short film, a no budget short film, which is I'm going to write this for free because I really love the project. Okay. The director was really a very humble guy, and the story was really interesting. It was a short film called The Talk. So I used that short film just as an exercise for me to improve my craft. And I really, spent a lot of time doing it. And it was less than a tiny project, no budget project. Okay. So once I finished the film, I sent it to a few festivals. And, I won about 7 awards for that film. And, talking about challenge, I take it I took it as a challenge for my own writing. You know, it was really something I love to do, and that film opened to me a lot of doors. And I, it took me to the red carpet on the Hollywood Boulevard, among all other really, really great composers I really admire. It was really crazy, and it was just a little tiny project. So I really believe in the power of the small things,
Yeah.
and a tiny thing, it could be a challenge too.
Now, do you, as far as the American films, do you stay in Argentina? Do you stay in Buenos Aires? And do they send you dailies? For some of the bigger films, do they send you dailies so you can write your music to the movie, or do you fly to the set? Like you said, you have family in Missouri or New Mexico and New York.
Yeah,
Do
yeah.
you ever fly there
Sometimes,
and work?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Sometimes we have a few meetings, but mostly pre-production meetings, because composer in set, it's really useless. You enter into, you get on board once they have the picture lock version and you are ready to write to it. So they used to send me all the stuff, maybe in a hard disk, or maybe something like, direct link like Dropbox on or Google Drive, something like that. And we used to have meeting also like this in video. Or sometimes I used to fly to New Mexico, to Los Angeles, and we used to meet there. But the main thing is that a composer works once the movie is almost done, you know. So the moment that I enter in is once the cut is done.
Yeah, isn't it something? It'll take a you can film a movie and take 28 days to film your movie. Then once it's done, then you got like 5 days to score it. It's like, well, wait a minute.
Yeah, yeah,
How come you got 28 and I'm only getting five?
yeah, yeah. My average time, it's my time frame is like maybe 4 to 6 weeks to write a feature film, um, in an ideal world. Okay, but maybe 3 weeks, it's the average lately. And I have written a few films really, you know, 14 hours a day in a week, but I would not like to be there anymore.
Um, I got another question for you here. It says, uh, let's see, are there any scores you can't stand? That's a really good question because I'm
Stand
trying to.
in
I
which
take.
way?
I guess like, is there any scores that you don't like? Like you mentioned Marvel earlier.
Okay, yeah, yeah, but
Marvel scores. Ugh, for a
I
long time they were terrible.
yeah, but I would not like to bad talking about others' work, but but
It,
all which is sound design is something I really don't like so much, because uh, I believe in the whole experience when you watch a movie, and the whole experience, it's a fantasy, it's not real life. Okay, and when you use sound design and those kind of stuff, it just because you want the audience to have kind of real life experience. The music, it's not there when you walk, uh, by your neighborhood and you are driving your car, unless you turn on your stereo. There's no music in life. So most there's no dons, but some directors are trying to mimic that. I don't like that kind of sound design approach for a score. I like more the fantasy of cinema with a nice
you want
melody.
more warm tones in there more than just
Yeah,
antiseptic.
maybe
Hmm.
it could be a subtle melody. Okay, I'm not talking about a para, no, that kind of stuff, but it could be subtle, but a melody at the end of the day, something you can hum. I think you can write really powerful subtle melodies, for example, for a score.
Um, yeah, it's because me, it's important. It's important. Like we talked about at the beginning of the show, was how it's really important to establish that theme right off the bat. Not necessarily action, but you can have like you don't need to come through with a rip roaring rock and roll beat in the first 5 seconds. You can come out
Hmm.
with a nice subtle entry in the beginning. Even for an action film, you can do that. I didn't
Yeah,
like the Marvel score because it really didn't set you in the place that you needed to be. It just seemed it didn't have any rhythm, Mariano. It wasn't so much it
yeah,
was bad, but it just didn't have the rhythm. It didn't get rhythm until like 20 movies into their franchise, and then they came up with their theme that they use now, and then it's a lot better. But I was just like, there's sometimes the bigger is better.
yeah,
It's sometimes it's not. Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Less is more.
do you record your scores with the orchestra?
Sometimes, sometimes it depends on the budget because that's something really hard today because there's a lot of people throwing project to the table, and there's a lot of competition out there, even for the directors and producers. So budget is really, really very, very tough. Sometimes we can hire a few string players to overdub of my own stuff I recorded using my keyboard and samples I have here in my library. And sometimes it just all by myself.
It must be different working with a composer. I mean, working with an orchestra.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Sometimes just one musician you add to what you have recorded, it really brings a lot of life to it.
um, what's some of your favorite? What's some of the favorite projects that you worked on? What are like five projects that you're the most proud of?
Um, well, one here from Argentina, it's one I scored for Netflix. Name in Spanish is Estocolmo Identidad Perdida, which is something like Stockholm Syndrome, Lost Identity. That would be the title in English. It's a TV series. And also, I scored for one I really like for Lionsgate, named Game of Assassins with Bailing, a
Okay.
famous Asian actress. In fact, I love. The most I like is the one I'm going to write tomorrow. Because I have the chance to improve what I'm writing. I'm not a big fan of all my works. I really love a few ones because it's something maybe more personal than professional. But I always love the one I want to write tomorrow.
I have a question for you, and I'm glad you're here for this one, obviously. But why are there so few women composers?
Uh,
Why is there a ceiling against them? Because I have heard of
the,
a few women composers, and they're very capable. But it doesn't seem it overall. Even young composers, even not even just women,
yeah,
but it seems like the film composing world here in America, anyway, in Hollywood, it's very top heavy. It's like it only seems like there's like 10 composers working, and yet there's
yeah,
hundreds and hundreds of films. I mean, I was looking at your page, and you have tons of projects in the middle of being developed, being filmed, being finished. I mean, you're constantly working, and it
yeah,
seems like in Hollywood, uh it's like it's like we'll go and grab the first 10 people out the first same old, the same 10 composers. Why is there a
yeah.
glass ceiling, in your opinion, for film composers? How come we don't hear more, and especially women? in your opinion?
uh, I don't know. Maybe they're not so famous because, um, for example, Lolita Ratmanis, she's a very, very talented composer. Uh, there's a new upcoming composer who won the Oscar last year. I don't remember her name because it's from East Europe. It's a very hard to pronounce name, but she's a woman composer. Um, I don't know. Maybe it's been a male-driven profession, but it's crazy because that's not fair. Firstly, and I think,
No.
yeah, there.
Have you met any women composers in Argentina?
Yeah, Karina, for example, who was in the chat today, she's a very talented composer and orchestrator, and she's also a director. So, and she's very, very talented. Uh, I don't know why, because I don't know. It's weird, but
It's a tough
maybe
question. I know.
something.
I
It's a tough profession, but that's not about your sex. That's not something that it has to be with that.
one would
But
hope not. One would hope not. I don't necessarily feel like it's. I don't necessarily feel it's 100% sexual either. I don't think it's just based on gender because, like I said, it's so top heavy. It's like it's the same 10 people doing all these movies.
yeah,
It's very rare for instead of 30 people or 40 people because they're out there, but it's always like the
yeah,
same 10 people that every Oscars on your hand you already know what you're gonna see. You're gonna see.
yeah. I think maybe there is something about gender, but it's not about maybe uh, your if you are sensitive to some kind of music style or mood, maybe I don't know, uh, but it's something to think about.
Um, I mean, let's see. Yep. Oh, okay. We got another question for you. Do you ever listen to your scores after you're done with a film? Do you listen to your own work? Like, well, when you're just
Yeah,
relaxing. Do you ever put on any of your own music?
sometimes, but I'm always, you know, I from I don't know, maybe 10 years now, I always have another project coming, and I have to get into it. But now I'm revisiting a few scores because I'm going to publish as an album every score. I'm going to publish uh, many of my scores on Spotify, So I'm revisiting a few ones, and every time I, open a project maybe to remix it or change a few things in order to make it more listenable to 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 be on Spotify. Uh, I tend to change a few things, but not. Uh, it's hard. But every time I revisit an old score, uh, I tend to think, okay, I would like to make this different today. But I like to listen to a few ones.
Uh, who are some of the tell me two or three up and comers. Who are two or three young up and comers of people that we should know about? And what would you tell somebody that came up to you? Let's say you're at let's say you're at an awards and when I came up to you and I said, I really admire your work, Mariano, and I like to get into film composing. What would you tell me?
Um, I will tell you to improve your craft as much as you can because it's all about it, really. Um, Never stop studying and never stop being curious because that's key for this profession, and I think for everything in life you have to keep being curious. And it's not only about music, because, for example, I love gardening. That's my hobby, and I
Okay.
learned a lot from that because, for example, when you see a plant that is not getting better, it's not going to get better overnight. You have to spend a lot of day watching what it's happening there, you know, and also when you see how it blossoms and everything start to come up. It's something that it's not happen overnight. With music, it's the same. You have to improve your craft step by step, step by step, with a lot of work. And that's something I learned, for example, from my craft, from other things that which are not music. You have to keep your eyes wide open and enjoying and trying to discover new things every day. So I would say improve your craft.
That sounds, yeah, that's, I would think so. I mean, you have to create. I mean, the fact that you told the story how you worked on that short film for nothing, but you did it just to improve your craft, and then it opened so many doors for you.
Absolutely,
It's a smart piece of advice. It's smart.
absolutely.
Anybody offers you a chance to do a score, do it. Why not?
Absolutely, yeah, yeah, yeah. And as we talked before, everything is a challenge, and you can learn from everything. When I just started, I used to, to maybe to load a string patch, and start improvising. And once I was, into it, and I have written a lot, maybe I would need to change something. And it was really difficult for me because all the string part were written, and I didn't have, for example, a piano track as a guide. Today I write, in a very different way. I used to write at the piano, and afterwards go into the orchestration and everything. That's something you learn by doing, and you learn by observing yourself and your process and what you want to say with music.
Um, what do you do to relax for yourself? I mean, when you're, because I mean, how do you what do you do to to get away from it? Because you don't want to have your brain on fire all the time.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
what do you like to do beside? I mean, you mentioned the gardening, but what other things do you do to disengage yourself? Because I mean,
Uh, I like swimming a lot. I like water. I'm like a dolphin. That's something. It's my favorite animal. Um, Gardening is also. I sometimes I have a few hours to draw. I really like design. I have designed my house myself. Uh, that's something I really love. Imagine, new buildings and new stuff, drawing. But nowadays, gardening is my main hobby. For example, a few minutes before our interview today, I was planting a pine here.
oh, okay,
So that's something it really connects me to the essential things, because it's something that you can learn a lot from that. Because now everything, it's like internet seems to be everything. And when you see, a tree, how it evolves, it's much more than that. There's a lot of information there, a
right.
lot.
Um, what are some of the things you like about art, Buenos Aires? I mean, as an artist, as a creator, being as a creative, what do you like about art about Buenos Aires?
Okay, uh, that's a difficult one, because I like Buenos Aires, but I'm not living so close to downtown now. I'm in a place called La Lucila del Mar, which is in Argentina's coast. I'm in a forest, a few, maybe a mile from the sea, and I love nature. Buenos Aires is maybe, it's like a little New York. so you get an idea. Very cosmopolitan, with a lot of cultures mixed. Um, and you have classic architecture from the late 40s and the early 20s too, which is really fantastic, like what you could find, I don't know, in Italy or France. And it's really full of life. People are really busy doing all kind of things. uh, it has a lot of nightlife, um, and it's a mixture of a big city and green. You have a lot of trees and nature mixed between the big buildings.
Is it easier to get is it easier to get inspired by this? Is it more easier for you to get inspired by the city or by
Yeah,
the
but
woods?
you also have kind of a neighborhood, like for example, a little town in Italy or Queens, something like that. And we are talking about Buenos Aires city, right?
Yeah.
Downtown. So it's not like, for example, in Los Angeles, that you have to use a car to go to the grocery. You have to just go down your building, and you have a baker here, grocery there, and everyone is going by foot. Uh, they You can use a car, of course, or take the subway, but most people go walking. Other cities are like ghost cities, like Los Angeles. There's no one walking by the street. Here,
No.
it's really a lot of people, talking and going from here to there. That's something I really like about the city, but just for a little time, just for a while. Afterwards, I like to run here to the forest.
Right. Yeah, that's what I just that's a good question, Steve. That's what I just asked him about. Like to me, it's like you go to the city and you can sit there and you just and let the city wash over you, and you get inspired by that. Or
Yeah.
you can do that you can do that in the woods too. You sit in the woods and let listen to nature, and that can also lead to inspiration for work. Um,
Yeah, something I really like here is that if you observe the animals, you know what time of the day is. That's something I really love. What they are doing, the birds. It's something I really really like, because it takes me to my essential thing. And it's not like in the city, that maybe you are, like absolutely in a can, that kind of sensation.
right, right. Uh, let's see. Same thing with Dutch mentions this, just like over here in the Netherlands, walking and cycling in the cities. I mean, yeah, it's got to be a little bit. It's got to be, because I guess as a composer, I mean, you got to be you're open. You're so open to everything and anything, because anything and everything can turn into music.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Um, I mean, it's so weird, but it's true. I mean, you could walk down the street and just listen to the neighbors talking, the cars driving by, the planes flying overhead. But inside your head, you're thinking,
Yeah,
how would I put that to music? How would I'm
yeah,
saying,
yeah. Once I put together the branding, the music branding for a Fox channel named Fox Life, and my idea was to use car horns, washing machines, the sound of washing machines, doorbells, windows opening and closing. I use all those sounds, steps, the steps you hear in the street, and I use all those sounds to build the outdoor branding for this channel, which was a channel that was kind of connected to your everyday life. And I use all those sounds as music, as rhythm. Yeah, music is everywhere, in everything, Absolutely. It's
Yeah,
physics.
it's it's
Yeah.
uh it's, it's amazing because I mean that's what to me a film composer is like. You're much more open to anything than a I mean, I don't. I mean, like a regular band musician, like they just don't have that. I don't think a lot of them don't have that set. They play their genre of music. That's what they play. They play rock, they play jazz, they play blues, they play whatever. But that's what they listen. They don't. I don't think that's what separates the film. That's why film composing is so hard. If it was easy, everybody'd do it, right? But
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
everybody can do that. Nobody can walk down the street like you can and hear music from 50 different angles. Most people will walk
Yeah.
in and they're two dimensional. They can see black and they can see white, but they can't see a spectrum. And I think that's really what a film composer can really do, and it's why it's really critical for them to be able to put that music into the movie to make that movie blossom that much more.
Absolutely, but you have to be open to get into that, because I have met a few musicians that maybe they're great musicians because they have a lot of great technique and they play great, but they are not open to
Right.
all those kind of sounds that may be something which is not their instrument by itself, but could be very interesting or inspiring. You could be a technically a good musician but not so creative, and film composer, it's about being creative.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, I'm gonna go ahead and start thinking about wrapping this up because I don't want to overstay our welcome. But I would like to invite everybody in the chat. If you guys all want to dump some questions this way, we will send them to Mariano. So drop some questions in the chat, and then yeah, he'll answer a few questions, and then oh, here, okay. So let me see. Okay. What's your here? I got one for you. What's your daily routine like, Mariano? I mean,
Yeah,
tomorrow morning. What will you do
tomorrow
tomorrow
morning.
morning? Let's say
Tomorrow
you
morning.
have a movie you're
Yeah,
scoring. Okay.
talking about scoring. Uh, my day, scoring writing. It start like 2 p.m. I used to start by 2 p.m. In during the morning, I'm kind of ditzy, so I used to do more emails, meetings, all that kind of stuff, planning the schedule, maybe loading a few sounds, checking my library, that kind of stuff. I used to start by 2 p.m. I write maybe to till 11 p.m. That's my basic schedule. Maybe I take a break. I go to swim a little bit in the pool and come back to the studio. It's not like I'm here like crazy, like in a jail, but uh, I spend long hours writing, so I have to have a few breaks, in order to keep my mind clear. Um, and what else can I tell you? That's
Uh,
my basic day. But for example, tonight I was, planting a pine just before uh, we were going to have the interview. So I improvise a lot, but my basic schedule is from 2 to 11 p.m.
okay. We have a question. From Kubrick Glover, 72. Uh, who are some of your favorite rock bands?
Okay, rock bands. Steely Dan, I'm really a big fan because it's maybe a band that it's got a lot of fusion of styles, because you also have some jazz there, but I think they are rock guys, and I really love Steely Dan. Um, which other one? When I was a kid, I really loved listening to Queen.
Yeah, yeah,
I
huge Queen
really love
fan.
that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Um, I don't know. Maybe those are my favorites.
Let's see. We got Dutch mentions he listens more often to soundtracks and classical music than I do to pop music. Yeah, I listen to a lot of scores. In fact, I have a huge score catalog I got on Spotify, and I listen to score music while I type, while I work. That's what I listen to when I work. I don't listen to pop music. I listen to music, movie scores.
That's
Uh,
great. You can listen to music while you're working.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
great. I can't.
Oh no, yo, no, that would pollute your work area, no doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Stephen mentions when writing a piece, does it come together at once, or does it take a few times rearranging it to make it sound just right? Um, yeah,
Sorry,
thank you
come
so
again,
much.
please.
He's at Stephen's asking. He mentioned he got here a little late. Says when writing the piece down, does it all come together at 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 all at once, or does it take a few times rearranging it to make it sound right?
It usually takes a few times to make it right, but
Yeah,
sometimes you write, for example, an idea. Maybe it's just a second. For example, I love that. Okay, you write that. Okay, now you have to orchestrate that. It could take hours.
right, right. Because you got to build
So
off them.
yeah, it's tricky. Yeah, because maybe you write a melody maybe in 5 minutes, but it's going to take hours to write all the orchestration for that melody.
But not only that, but you have to be able to write it in such a way as to not, basically what we mentioned about it before. You don't want to repeat yourself, and you don't want to repeat anybody else. To me, film composing's got to be the hardest thing because you were writing pieces that are original, but think about all the movies that have been made. How
Yeah,
hard
but
it must be to make an original piece of music. It's
and
hard.
also yeah, and also you have to make it work to the acting. Maybe
Right. Yeah.
the music, it sounds great by itself, but once you put it against the video, maybe you are competing with the dialogue, so you have to erase a few notes in order to get in like uh as a team with the dialogue, with the acting, and not as something that is going to take more, be more upfront than the acting itself. So it's not just about writing a good melody. You have to make it work to the acting, to the video.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Kubrick mentioned he liked that melody you just did. Um,
Oh, thank you.
one quick question. This will be the last question of the night. One quick question is, if someone wanted to buy some of your music, how do we do that? Do you have like a website that you have that if someone wanted to buy some of your scores, could they do
Um,
that?
yeah, I'm going to publish a lot on Spotify, but it's taking me a lot of time to do it because I'm so busy. But uh, I let you know once I have. For example, now you can listen to Estocolmo is uploaded to Spotify, and I have a few on my YouTube channel. But I would like to publish a few albums maybe the coming months, so you guys can check it out in a few months.
Okay. I want to thank you so much, Mariano. This was just absolutely top drawer stuff. This is
My
definitely
pleasure.
one of my very favorite interviews so far. And
Oh, great.
yeah, this has
Thank
been
you so
amazing.
much, Patrick.
Yeah,
My
I had
pleasure.
absolutely this is
Absolutely.
absolutely blast. Thank you to everybody in the chat. You guys just kicked ass tonight. Dutch and Kubrick and Steven and guys came in here with some solid takes. I really appreciate that. It makes it so much more fun. We'll do it again sometime soon. I definitely will say I will definitely want to have you come back. And I'll just
Yeah.
like to thank your family for coming by, your wife coming by. That's great. I think that's awesome. I love the support. And yeah, I this is one of my favorite ones for sure. All right, before we go, because we got to go here. But we will be back tomorrow night with Sonia Richards. Sonia L. Richards. She's an actress. She'll be here to talk about talk about her career tomorrow. And then on Thursday, we'll be talking to my friend Natalie Fajitas, who was a talent buyer in San Jose and is also working as a DJ. And she's got a ton of great musical stories to share with us. So it's music week here on Eight Questions with. And that will end our run for the year. We'll take a little time off, and we'll come back at it on the 4th of January with the return of Mike Ferguson. I'd like to thank everybody to come on in, and feel free to subscribe to me and the Cheetah. We're trying to get to 500. Share this out with your friends and family. Hit the thumbs button and drop a comment. Drop a comment. That would really help the channel out a lot. And again, thank you so much, Mariano.
Thank
Stay
you.
right where you're at, and I'll talk to you for one more second. All right, until the next one. Peace.
Bye bye. Thank you.